Okay, first graders, we have learned 5 new vocabulary words, and now we are going to listen for them to be used in a story. So, the 5 words that we have this week, the first word we had was century, which was 100 years. Next, we had past, which were the years that have already happened or the time that has already happened. Then we have entertainment, which are things that are designed to help us have fun and enjoy ourselves. We have the future, which is the time which has not happened yet but is coming. And we have the present, which is the time happening right now. Okay, so I want you to listen carefully as we read this story called Pioneers and learn about some people in the past. Are you ready? Years on. Let's see how we do and practice using those words with me as we go. Pioneers. Who were the pioneers? How did they live? Long ago, many Americans traveled west in hopes of finding land to settle and farm. They were called pioneers. They packed belongings into covered wagons and spent months on the journey. Today we move from place to place much more quickly than people did in the past. We can drive our cars across the United States in 1 week. On a plane, we can get there in a few hours. Over a century ago, the trip to the grass-covered prairie was difficult. Paved roads didn't exist. Covered wagons had to follow rough paths and cross over wet water. Oxen pulled the heavy wagons, which were also filled with food and supplies. Oxen were strong, but they were slow. A team of oxen could pull a wagon about 15 miles a day. Today, our car can do that in 15 minutes. When the long journey was over and the pioneers had reached the prairie, they faced a new challenge. They had to make new homes. Many pioneers lived on farms. Their houses were very different from our houses today. There were few trees, so there was not much wood for building houses. Some people built houses from logs that were brought to the prairie on the railroads. Other people built houses from stones or even dirt. A house made from blocks of dirt was cool in the summer and warm in the winter. There was one problem with a house made from dirt, though. When the rain fell, the dirt roof got wet. The wet roof sometimes fell onto the people inside the house. The early pioneers had no electricity. Instead of turning on a light, people lit candles and oil lamps at night. They cooked over a fire in the kitchen or outdoors. There were many chores to do. Children helped with cooking and cleaning. Kids were very busy at home, but they still had fun. What did pioneer families do for entertainment? They sang songs together. They played with their pets too, just as families do today. Pioneer children did not go to school in a big building. Instead, kids went to school with just one room. In this one-room schoolhouse, one teacher taught students from many different grades. The youngest children sat in smaller desks at the front of the classroom. The older children sat in larger desks in the back of the classroom. The teacher taught one level at a time and prepared many different lessons for every day. Younger students learned a lot by hearing the lessons for the older students. The supplies that students used at school were also very different than those used today. Students did not use computers or calculators. Those things would not be invented until far into the future. Often, students did not even use paper. Instead, they wrote on slate with slate pencils. These were like using small blackboards and chalk or dry erase boards. Even though one-room schools were very different than ours, the students had some things in common with kids today. They learned to read and write, and they had fun playing together at recess. What did the pioneers who lived on the prairie eat? They had no supermarkets as people have in the present. Instead, they raised most of their food themselves. Many pioneers grew corn, wheat, potatoes, and vegetables such as squash and beans. They collected eggs from their chickens and milk from their cows. They kept pigs and sheep too. Their meals came from all of these things. For breakfast, a pioneer family might eat cornbread, fried potatoes, and eggs. For lunch, they might eat more potatoes, soup, and ham. For dinner, they might eat chicken and biscuits with beans. Would you get tired of eating the same kinds of food over and over? Pioneers felt the same way. So some pioneers kept beehives, and they put that honey that the bees made on their food. Other settlers grew apple trees and pear trees from seeds they brought to the prairie with them. A fresh apple or pear made a fine end to a meal. It was true then, and it's still true now. Do you think you would have liked to be a pioneer? Hmm, I wonder. How many of you would like to be a pioneer? Why? Why do you think it would be fun? Why do you think it would be hard? What are your thoughts? Share them with somebody.